There is a simple test to see whether you are an average or exceptional entrepreneur. The test is a question. Do you spend the majority of your time thinking about your product or your customer? Did you know that one of the most critical needs for the United States during World War II was the ability to produce synthetic rubber? At the beginning of the war, the US was consuming 1/2 of the world's natural rubber supply. We had a lot of vehicles on the road. Japan strategically bombed countries in the South Pacific, cutting off 90% of our rubber supply. If we were going to win the war, we would need more than 1 million tons of synthetic rubber produced within an 18-month time frame. Without rubber, there would be no tanks, no airplanes, and no military vehicles. Facing this enormous challenge, the US formed a program joining research laboratories and major companies like General Electric, who in turn hired brilliant people like James Wright, a research scientist and chemical engineer, to develop and produce a rubber substitute. As these scientists went to work, business leaders faced their own challenges as marketing directors like Peter Hodgson tried to figure out how to sell products when a war was on. James Wright was a well-paid and highly skilled GE scientist. Peter Hodgson was a struggling marketing director mounting up piles of debt. Yet one of these individuals would make more than $100 million from a new substance invented in the GE lab. The critical ingredient was a customer. Mr. Wright made an amazing discovery while working on the synthetic rubber project, producing a rubber-like material with very unique characteristics. First of all, it bounced. If you dropped it on the floor, it would bounce higher than a rubber ball. Second, you could stretch it without breaking, but if you pulled it hard, you could snap it off clean. Another interesting characteristic is that it would retain its shape if you hit it with a hammer, but you could easily mold and shape it with your hands. Mr. Wright excitedly shared this new substance with the other scientists on the project. Everyone was amazed. They did brainstorming sessions for how it could be used for the war effort. But nobody had any ideas. The brainstorms ended up with a blank whiteboard. In essence, it didn't have a customer. So what happened to the amazing new substance? Well, it sat on a shelf and was occasionally brought out at dinner parties to show guests the fun bouncing clay. That is, until 6 years later when Peter Hodgson, the marketing guy, saw the substance for the first time. He immediately thought of a customer. Now, the synthetic rubber project turned out to be a complete success. In an almost unparalleled stroke of innovation in industry, the scientists and engineers were able to produce enough rubber to furnish our military vehicles. Today, 70% of the rubber used in manufacturing process is synthetic. With the job done, they moved on to something else. Peter Hodgson was just beginning his most successful career move. He borrowed $147 to buy a huge lump of bouncing clay and started the Silly Putty Company. Peter didn't see Silly Putty as an instrument for war. Instead, he saw it as an opportunity for kids and adults to have a lot of fun. Like many great products, Silly Putty was not an instant success, but with a couple of big breaks, it became an international phenomenon. Mr. Hodgson knew how to get in front of his target audience. More than 300 million Silly Putty eggs have been sold, and Peter Hodgson made more than $100 million with the product. Here's the moral of the story. You can have the most amazing product in the world, but until you have a paying customer, you don't have a business. Many entrepreneurs put so much energy into designing unique and feature-rich products that they forget that their most important element in every business is a paying customer. A product that you are really, really proud of is not as important as a product that customers really, really want. The inventor of Silly Putty, James Wright, was focused on the product, a scientific marvel. Peter Hodgson, on the other hand, was focused on a customer, a great toy for kids. What separates good entrepreneurs from great entrepreneurs is having a fundamentally customer-centric mindset. So here's the question. Are you a customer-centric entrepreneur? A tool that we use at Growability to make sure we stay customer focused is called a customer persona. A customer persona is a name given to define a particular type of customer for your business. For example, Techno Tammy or Gary Greenthumb. Here are 3 steps for defining a customer persona. Step 1. Define your target customer demographic. What does the most important customer for your business look like? What is their age, their income, their profession, or their stage of life? What's making them decide to purchase from you? Step 2. Define the value that you bring to this customer. What makes your product or service competitive? How are you more convenient or more consistent than others? Perhaps your product will last longer, or maybe you have access to information that others don't have. Step 3. Combine these into a name that encapsulates this type of customer. So to give you an example, here are the 3 customer personas that we use at Growability. First, we have Specialty Steve. Steve is a medical doctor or other accomplished specialist who is an expert in his field, but has limited business training. Steve doesn't have an MBA, but he does have the responsibility of running his business. For Specialty Steve, Growability builds streamlined business systems that are tailored around his vision, mission, and values. We help him move from putting out the fire to preventing the fire in the first place. Steve cares about having a happy team who is effective in their work, so we help him establish best practices in communication and team roles. We also help Steve create a life plan that he can use throughout his entire business career. The second customer persona at Growability is Clever Clara. Clever Clara is an up-and-coming entrepreneur, and she's from her late 20s through 40s that wants to move her business from startup to growth. She realizes that it's a ton of hard work to run a business, and after making a few costly business mistakes, she doesn't want to make any more. Since Clara doesn't have the time to read the hundreds of important business books on the market, we do the work for her. Our job is to distill the critical business knowledge she needs into tangible action steps for growth. Clara receives a business model that she can trust that's built on solid business fundamentals. We also offer Clara something she may not have considered. Growability provides business training in community. Clara is paired with local leaders to work on growing their business together while providing encouragement and friendship. Finally, we have Multiplier Max. Max is a high-achieving entrepreneur with a $1 to $12 million business with 5 to 50 employees. Oftentimes, Max has discovered that success alone is less fulfilling than he thought it would be, and he has started focusing more on making a significant impact in the world. Max needs access to high-capacity leaders who are in a similar life situation. He also needs proven growth strategies and friends and mentors who can help with both business and life decisions. Notice how each of these customer personas has both a name and then also descriptors towards what they need and then how we serve them. When you deeply understand and focus on your customers, you have a foundation to grow your organization to reach its fullest potential. On the other hand, if you're more interested in being the perfect scientist for your product or service, you might just have Silly Putty on a shelf waiting to be discovered. I hope you enjoyed this video. At Growability, we exist to empower, equip, and encourage leaders to walk with God and reach their full potential. Please share with any leader who might benefit from this advice, and then get out there and grow an amazing business.